On my way home, I was suddenly confronted with an unusual subtitle. It seems the villain is on the brink of death. What a pity for such a handsome man. A handsome man? I halted and glanced around, only to discover a striking figure reclining against a tree trunk by the roadside. His eyes were half closed, utterly motionless, exuding a tranquility akin to that of a corpse. Approaching him, I bent down and called out loudly, "Hey, handsome, are you awake? If you're not, I might just kiss you." With great effort, he lifted his eyelids and articulated slowly, "No, kissing, aloud." I teased him. "What if I do kiss you?" The handsome man, feebly responding, declared, "Dare to kiss me, and I shall tear your lips." I pouted in complaint. Such a miser. What harm is there in a kiss? It won't cost you a piece of flesh. He shot me an exasperated glance. Ha ha ha. Oh, dear Big Socks, how polite of you to ask for permission before kissing. How amusing. The villain is nearly at death's door, yet upon hearing someone desires a kiss, he hurriedly revives. Villain. Upon hearing of a potential kiss, I, a dying man, sit up in alarm. The presumed villain's official partner has made an appearance eagerly, anticipating what follows. What had just transpired was merely a fleeting moment of vitality. The villain, after delivering his dramatic proclamation, once more let his eyelids droop and succumb to unconsciousness. I hesitated over whether to take him to the hospital. The barrage of comments resumed. Do not, under any circumstances, take the villain to the hospital. The male lead has issued a universal assassination order against him. Going to the hospital would not only fail to save him, but also expose his whereabouts. A universal assassination order. Is this the extent of the male lead's prowess in domineering novels? I am in awe. I summoned a courier and requested his assistance in carrying the villain back home. The villain's attire was already thoroughly soaked with snowmelt. What could I do? There was no choice but to remove it all. As I unbuckled his belt, the previously unresponsive villain suddenly opened his eyes. His cold gaze pierced my face, silent and unsettling. I halted my movements and emphasized, "I haven't kissed you yet. Your clothes are soaked. If it bothers you, I won't take them off." Ultimately, the villain offered no objection, gazing at me for a few seconds before wearily closing his eyes once more. I took this as silent consent. 2. After all, I am a maiden who has never experienced romance, and I possess a modicum of modesty. Thus, I left him a pair of undergarments. Before tucking him under the covers, I took a moment to admire his physique. Honestly, the antagonist has an impressive build, broad shoulders, a slender waist, long legs, and well-defined muscles across his chest, abdomen, and arms. Most importantly, his attributes are quite remarkable. Not a bad deal at all. Ha ha ha. That sly girl has done well. Can I have a turn to play a few chapters? I want in too. How about we form a queue and take turns in the narrative? Ha ha ha. That sounds delightful. The comments were filled with longing for the antagonist's physique. It appears that everyone shares a similar inclination. I felt a sense of relief. 3. After covering the antagonist with a thick blanket, I left him to his own devices. It's not merely about warmth. The antagonist is suffering from hunger and cold. Simply keeping him warm won't suffice. If he perishes from starvation, it would all be in vain. My apologies. I had momentarily forgotten that detail. I hurried downstairs to the pharmacy to purchase a box of glucose solution, then headed to the supermarket to acquire a toy syringe, using it to administer the glucose drop by drop into his mouth. He retained a subconscious ability to swallow, so he managed to ingest it all. After my flurry of activity, I found myself exhausted and famished, devouring 2 bowls of instant noodles in one sitting. After a brief respite, I tossed his clothes into the washing machine. Just before bed, I checked on the antagonist one last time, only to discover with dismay that he had developed a high fever. I rushed back to the pharmacy to buy antipyretics and hurriedly administered them to him. The pharmacist warned that high fevers could recur, and with him sweating profusely, I dared not leave his side, opting instead to stay by the bed, occasionally wiping his brow and feeding him sweetened water. When overwhelming fatigue struck, I would rest my head on the edge of the bed for a brief moment. Fortunately, the following 3 days coincided with a New Year's holiday, alleviating any concerns about work obligations. During his feverish state, the antagonist was plagued by nightmares. He would alternately plead with his mother to stay alive, weep while calling out to Sister Weiwei not to leave, and then furiously declare his intentions to kill someone. The cacophony was overwhelming. Through the comments, I learned that the antagonist is the illegitimate son of the male lead's father, born from a drunken liaison. He lived with his biological mother until the age of 14, after which he was reunited with his wealthy father following his mother's untimely death. Due to his status as an illegitimate child, He faced disdain and ostracism, gradually developing a dark and paranoid disposition. The female lead is the only person, apart from his mother, who has ever shown him warmth, which led to his unrequited love for her. In his quest to win her affection, he resorted to desperate measures, ultimately alienating himself from everyone and being cast out by the Tang family, while also facing the male lead's ruthless retaliation, leaving him devoid of any will to live. In his final moments, he contemplated returning to his roots, leading him back to this very city. Frankly, upon reflection, I realized that I was ill-equipped to handle such a dark and unstable individual, not to mention the potential repercussions from the male lead. Therefore, I resolved to ask him to leave once he regained consciousness. After all, I had saved his life, and I hoped that would suffice to prevent any ill will. 3. Tang Zhou's fever persisted for 2 days before finally subsiding. During that time, he briefly awakened, but his energy was lacking and his mind was foggy. He said nothing before slipping back into unconsciousness. Only when I was certain that he was not at risk of relapsing did I dare to sleep on the sofa. Worrying about his condition, I awoke not long after, yawning and groggily making my way to the bedroom. Upon reaching the door, I was taken aback to find Tang Zhou sitting on the bed, seemingly having awakened at some point. He turned his head slightly to regard me, his eyes filled with a mix of confusion, shyness, and innocence. "Sister, did you save me? Sister?" I had seen his identification card. He was indeed a year younger than I, but how did he know that? Surely, I did not appear so aged, visibly older than him. Oh no! It seems the antagonist has lost his memories prior to returning to the Tang family. In real life, I would find this hard to believe, but in novels, anything is possible. Perhaps the author took pity on the poor antagonist and wished to grant him a chance at rebirth. Amnesia? How old are you? 14. I was momentarily at a loss for words. Do you remember anything from before you fell unconscious? Tang Zhou frowned in thought for a moment before quietly responding. I didn't have money for rent, the landlord kicked me out, and I was hungry and tired, so I accidentally fell asleep by the roadside. Well, it appears that he truly was suffering from amnesia. For, although Tang Zhou believes himself to be merely 14, I had no intention of concealing the truth of his current situation from him. I showed him his identification card and searched for news articles about his failed succession and subsequent expulsion. The 14-year-old Tang Zhou was clearly unable to accept the reality that he was, in fact, 24 years old. He found it even more incomprehensible to grasp the tragedy of his defeat in the struggle for inheritance. I rambled on for quite some time, but he merely gazed up at me with a pitiful expression, as if he were about to speak. Sister, have I caused you trouble? I can leave right now. I sighed in exasperation. Actually, it's not too bad. As long as you don't go outside and get spotted by anyone from the Tang family, you won't trouble me. If he hadn't lost his memory, I would have undoubtedly asked him to leave without hesitation. But he was merely a 14-year-old child now, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. Tang Zhou furrowed his brow, but if I can't go outside, I can't earn money. No worries. My salary is more than enough to support 2 people. You can take care of the household chores from now on. Tang Zhou bit his lip and nodded. Thank you, sister. No need for thanks. I absolutely abhor doing housework. If I can cover the daily expenses and have a free housekeeper in return, it's a bargain. I just wonder if he will still be able to manage household tasks now. Tang Zhou shyly lowered his head. Sister, can I wear clothes? Although there are no outsiders at home, it still feels a bit inappropriate. Realizing he was still unclothed, I found myself caught between laughter and tears. Your clothes are still wet from washing. You can wear my pajamas for the time being, and I will go out and buy you some later. Thank you, sister. The way he called me sister made me blush with embarrassment, and I felt remorse for my earlier fantasies about him. 5. 2 minutes later, Tang Zhou emerged wearing pajamas that were significantly too short, awkwardly asking, Sister, is there anything to eat? He seemed afraid of upsetting me and quickly added, I'm not picky. I'll eat anything. I looked up and said, I order takeout, since you've just recovered. Let us start with something light and easy to digest. Tang Zhou was so moved he nearly cried, Thank you, sister. After our meal, I stepped out to buy clothes for Tang Zhou. Upon my return, I was astonished to find the house thoroughly cleaned. The comments indicated that Tang Zhou had begun tidying up as soon as I left. Even more unexpectedly, he had washed my intimate garments that I hadn't had time to tend to. I hesitated for a few seconds before approaching the bathroom door, summoning the courage to say, I can handle washing those myself. Tang Zhou looked up at me, nervously. Sister, is my washing inadequate? No. It's just that I prefer to wash those myself. I've left your clothes on the sofa. You can try them on. Oh. After hanging the clothes to dry, I returned to the living room to find Tang Zhou had already changed into the outfit I had purchased for him. His physique rivaled that of a model. Even a most mundane attire looked stunning on him. I must admit, having such a pleasingly handsome young man around, even if it meant relying on him financially, brought me a sense of joy. Truly, lust clouds judgment. Sister? Tang Zhou called out timidly. I snapped back to reality. What is it? Tang Zhou tugged at the hem of his shirt anxiously. Is it not fitting? It fits perfectly. You look dashing. Take the other clothes to the washing machine. I don't feel like cooking today, so we'll settle for takeout again tonight. Tang Zhou quickly interjected. I can cook. Takeout is unsanitary and unhealthy. Let me handle the cooking. You make a valid point, but I didn't buy any groceries today. Let us start tomorrow. Oh. After dinner, I naturally entrusted the cleanup duties to Tang Zhou while I languidly sprawled on the sofa, engrossed in my phone. Suddenly, it occurred to me that I should purchase a mobile phone for him to facilitate our communication, so I placed an order online. Sister, may I go downstairs to dispose of the trash? He inquired. No need, I'll take it out to work tomorrow, I replied. Oh. You can watch TV by yourself. I've ordered you a phone, and it will arrive tomorrow. Just make do on the sofa for a few days, and next week during the holiday, I'll go look at a 2-bedroom apartment. You needn't feel embarrassed. Helping me maintain the cleanliness of the house is the greatest assistance you can provide. I finished in one breath, and Tang Zhou hesitated for a moment before stammering. Thank you, sister. You're welcome. I have work in the morning, so I'll turn in for the night. I've left a blanket on the sofa. Sleep early if you're tired. All right. I yawned and returned to my bedroom. Will this story veer towards familial bonds? That would be nice, but I yearn for a romantic angle. I doubt it. My instincts tell me the antagonist wants to remain amnesiac forever. Once his memories return, he might feel compelled to love his sister. How thrilling. I want to see that, hee. Compelled love? Now that would be intriguing. I, too, await it eagerly. I slept soundly until 7 in the morning, hurriedly rising to wash up. Upon opening the door, I was greeted by the delightful aroma wafting from the kitchen. Approaching to investigate, I discovered Tang Zhou cooking. He turned to face me. I saw tomatoes in the fridge, so I made tomato and egg noodles. Would you like some, sister? I usually have breakfast at the CAF downstairs, but having a homemade meal is certainly preferable. I would love to. Let me freshen up first. For some reason, despite the simplicity of eggs and tomatoes, Tang Zhou's noodles tasted far superior to my own. They were delicious enough that I finished every drop of the broth. After setting down my chopsticks, Tang Zhou cautiously asked, Sister, is it good? I nodded emphatically, delicious. Your culinary skills are remarkable. Tang Zhou beamed shyly. I'm glad you like it. The fridge is empty. I'll order takeout for lunch, but remember to answer the door. As I stood to leave, Tang Zhou quickly added, no need for takeout. I'll buy some vegetables and cook myself. All right then, I'll place an order shortly. I'm off to work. See you tonight. See you tonight. While on the subway, I ordered vegetables, pork, and fruits to be delivered home. That evening, as I opened the door, the enticing scent of rice greeted me. Tang Zhou was sitting on the sofa, lost in thought, and immediately stood when he saw me. Sister, I've prepared the ingredients. Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. I placed my bag on the shoe rack. No rush. I'm not too hungry yet. Okay. Tang Zhou hurried back into the kitchen. I wanted to lend a hand, but he worked so efficiently that I had no opportunity to assist, leaving me to observe from the sidelines. In less than 20 minutes, he had completed 2 dishes and a soup, all visually appealing and fragrant. I could only admire his talents. Who would have thought that this brooding boy could also whip up a meal? How enchanting. The antagonist used to cook for the female lead too, but when the male lead suddenly appeared, she hesitated to eat, leaving the antagonist quite heartbroken for a while. Is the sister the official pairing for the antagonist? Given the side stories, it seems so. Whether my actions were dictated by the plot was of little concern to me. As long as I was acting in accordance with my own desires, that sufficed. After dinner, Tang Zhou dutifully washed the dishes. I took out the mobile phone I had purchased and inserted the SIM card I had acquired at the service center. When he emerged, I handed him the phone. He stared at it, seemingly lost in thought. Do you not know how to use it? Would you like me to teach you? I asked. Tang Zhou shook his head. It feels a bit unfamiliar, but I believe I can manage. At 14, Tang Zhou was likely adept at household tasks, yet he had probably not encountered a modern smartphone before. He began to fiddle with the phone, and seeing that he was managing well, I left him to it. On weekdays, I retired early, and after a brief rest, I washed up and returned to my room to sleep. The next morning, Tang Zhou had prepared breakfast again: century egg and lean meat porridge, dumplings, and a cucumber salad. Dinner was even more lavish. I suggested he keep it simple, but he disregarded my advice, continuing to experiment with various dishes, claiming he thoroughly enjoyed the process of cooking. At this point, I had no choice but to indulge him. On the weekend, I viewed a two-bedroom apartment within the same complex and promptly paid the deposit along with half a year's rent. The lease for my current apartment still had 2 months remaining, and the landlord refused to refund the deposit, so I accepted my fate. To be cautious, I instructed Tang Zhou to wear a mask while moving. Once we had finished transporting our belongings and tidying up, it was already Sunday evening. The move had been exhausting, and for the first time, I entertained the thought of purchasing a home of my own. Unfortunately, with my current savings, I would need a decade to afford even a modest two-bedroom apartment, assuming the housing market didn't suddenly surge. A long journey lay ahead. At 14, Tang Zhou was obedient and sensible. He complied with my requests, making my life considerably easier. Keeping him cooped up in the house wasn't ideal either, especially with the comments suggesting the protagonists might be expecting a child, leaving the male lead neglectful of Tang Zhou. I informed him he could wear a mask and go outside. However, he was reluctant to leave home, only agreeing to step out when I firmly insisted. He resembled an ancient noble lady. A month swiftly passed. Tang Zhou's memories remained frozen at 14, yet his intellect and cognitive abilities matured rapidly with the passage of time. The comments noted that Tang Zhou had discovered a remarkable talent for drawing and had found a part-time job illustrating online, earning some money. Additionally, there was astonishment expressed over his ability to create art on his phone. I was quite pleased. As long as he didn't inadvertently reveal his true identity to the male lead, his future financial independence seemed assured. Another half-month flew by, and the year drew to a close. With my parents having divorced and formed new families, I typically spent the new year alone to avoid being a third wheel. However, this year, with Tang Zhou by my side, I felt less solitary. I was quite content, and during dinner, I encouraged him to share a drink with me. Not much, just enough to feel pleasantly tipsy. After dinner, while Tang Zhou washed the dishes, I set out snacks and fruits and turned on the TV to watch the Spring Festival Gala. The quality of the program was inconsequential. It was the ambience that mattered. Tang Zhou and I settled onto the sofa to watch the show, and I found myself inching closer to him, erasing the meter-long gap between us. Before I realized it, our arms were brushing against one another. Despite his incessant calls of sister, he was still a grown man, prompting me to instinctively shift away slightly. Just as I began to move, Tang Zhou exclaimed, "Sister, don't move." I felt a surge of anxiety. "What's wrong?" I asked. With a serious expression, he replied, "You have something on your forehead. Close your eyes, and I'll help you get rid of it." "All right." Although I felt nothing on my forehead, his earnest demeanor prompted me to comply and shut my eyes. The television began the countdown to the new year. Tang Zhou's warm fingers gently brushed across my forehead. "Sister, it's done." "Oh." I slowly opened my eyes to find a delicate, golden necklace shimmering before me. It was thin, yet exquisitely beautiful. I gazed at Tang Zhou in astonishment. He smiled shyly, looking at me. "Sister, Happy New Year." I was momentarily taken aback before reaching out to accept it. "Thank you." I understood why Tang Zhou had gifted me the gold necklace. I had long desired to buy one for myself, but after taking him in, my expenses had increased. And I wanted to save for a home, so I had temporarily shelved the idea. I occasionally browsed similar items online, and he might have noticed. Tang Zhou seemed surprised by my nonchalance. "Aren't you curious where I got the money?" "Not particularly." From beneath the nearby throw pillow, I retrieved a gift box containing a drawing tablet and handed it to him. "Happy New Year, Zhou." Tang Zhou was momentarily taken aback before extending his hand to accept it. Did my sister already know? "Indeed, my dear sister, I possess quite an array of capabilities. Let's open it and see if it functions well. If not, I shall return it for a new one." Suddenly, Tang Zhou's eyes brimmed with tears. "Thank you, sister." I affectionately ruffled his fluffy head. "No need for thanks." Tang Zhou's eyes reddened further, glistening with tears as he gazed at me, his gaze reflecting unwavering trust and deep affection. "Sister, once I earn money in the future, I shall buy you even more exquisite and expensive jewelry." I was genuinely touched by his earnestness. "That would be splendid. Ideally, a complete set." Tang Zhou nodded earnestly. "Yes, a complete set." I burst into laughter, unable to contain my joy. "Well, familial affection is also acceptable to me. I still long for a romantic narrative." I desire a forced romantic plot. If he were the villain from before Amnesia, I might dare to take a bite. Yet, faced with a child whose psychological age is merely 14, I truly cannot bring myself to do so. A brother is simply a brother. With the acquisition of a drawing tablet, Tang Zhou found greater convenience. Whenever he had a moment to spare, he would seize the tablet and draw. I, lacking expertise and vocabulary, could only offer a simple commendation. Your artwork is splendid. The comments declared Tang Zhou a prodigious talent, destined to become a master of the industry in no time. He eagerly shared his accomplishments with me, rushing to inform me of every significant commission he received. I also relished witnessing the acclaim he garnered, overwhelmingly positive. After all, his success reflects on me as well. Sometimes, he would shyly yet eagerly inquire, "Sister, am I impressive?" I of course affirmed, "You are indeed remarkable, Zhou." He beamed with joy, visibly elated. A villain who hasn't turned dark is truly adorable. The bond between Tang Zhou and warmth is delightful. They must have a happy ending. I hope the villain never regains his memory. Dear author, grant the villain a happy ending. The comments had become fervent. To be fair, I undoubtedly find Tang Zhou's appearance captivating. However, as he regards me as a sister and places unwavering trust in me, I dare not entertain any impure thoughts. 4 months after our relocation, our landlord abruptly informed me that his property was to be sold, requiring us to vacate within a week. Though he promised to refund the remaining rent and deposit, I could not muster any joy. This neighborhood offered no suitable housing options, so I found a 2-bedroom unit in a neighboring community. Over the weekend, Tang Zhou and I tirelessly moved our belongings. Afterward, we were utterly exhausted, and I ordered takeout for dinner. After satisfying our hunger, I languidly collapsed onto the sofa. Zhou, once I save enough money, I shall definitely purchase a place of our own, and we won't have to move anymore. Tang Zhou gazed at me with fervent eyes. Nodding vigorously, "I believe in you, sister." Indeed, I believe too. We exchanged smiles. You too. Please refrain from being overly sentimental. It's bound to end in tears. Bah, bah, bah. I have no intention of acting in a tragic tale. Tang Zhou's work received widespread acclaim, with an increasing number of commissions leading to a steady rise in his income. During busy periods, he worked tirelessly, often around the clock. I urged him to leave the household chores to me, yet he continued to take care of everything while I was at work. As the year drew to a close, a month before the new year, Tang Zhou informed me that he had secured a significant contract, and if all went smoothly, he could earn 100,000. Combined with his previous savings, he would have nearly 300,000 and inquired if he could use my name to put down a deposit on a 2-bedroom unit near my workplace. I had just over 100,000 in savings as well, totaling 400,000. Given the current economic downturn in real estate, the prevailing property prices and down payment ratios would allow us to secure a mortgage for a 2-bedroom unit in proximity to my company. However, this would impose considerable pressure on our monthly payments. Moreover, considering our relationship, it would be inappropriate for us to share a home, so I did not agree. After my refusal, Tang Zhou did not bring it up again. I naturally assumed he had moved on from the matter. Until April of the following year, on my birthday, he gifted me a property purchase agreement. He had put down a 200,000 deposit using my name. Sister, you know that the purchase agreement holds legal validity. They won't refund the deposit even if we don't proceed. Rest assured, I currently earn a minimum of 20,000 each month, sufficient to cover the mortgage. Tang Zhou looked at me with unwavering confidence, displaying a level of assertiveness I had never witnessed before. I was momentarily stunned, as if awakening from a dream. Despite his amnesia and his obedient demeanor before me, he was, after all, a villain capable of engaging in fierce competition with the male lead. How could he merely be a docile puppy who listens to my every word? Seeing my silence, Tang Zhou reigned in the unintentional air of dominance, revealing a panicked yet pitiful expression. Sister, I desire to have a home that belongs to us so that we will no longer be at the mercy of landlords. What could I possibly do? I couldn't let that 200,000 go to waste. Very well, let us proceed with the purchase. Tang Zhou's funds barely covered the 20% down payment, while my savings would go toward renovations. He meticulously finalized the renovation plan according to my preferences, diligently overseeing the selection of materials. 3 months later, the renovations were complete. Although we used environmentally friendly materials, we still decided to ventilate the place for half a year, aiming to move in just before the spring festival. The thought of celebrating the new year in our new home filled me with joy. After the soft furnishings were in place, We took it upon ourselves to clean the house. Imagining the imminent move into our own home, I enveloped Tang Zhou in an excited embrace. Zhou, this is wonderful. We have our own home now. Tang Zhou gently wrapped his arm around me. His tone cheerful. In the future, I'll get a bigger house for you. I looked up at him, only to find him staring intently, his eyes brimming with fervent and unambiguous emotions. I was momentarily taken aback, realizing what it was, as if burned, and immediately extricated myself from his embrace. A flash of disappointment crossed Tang Zhou's eyes, though he quickly masked it. I had secured another significant contract. How about we enjoy hot pot for dinner night? I adeptly redirected the conversation. Sounds great. During dinner, Tang Zhou hesitated several times as if wanting to say something. I did not pick up on his cues. I wished to avoid piercing through this delicate barrier. After all, I could not ascertain if his feelings would remain unchanged upon regaining his memory. After all, my sister was not the only one he had ever cherished. As long as we could maintain our relationship under the guise of siblings, it would suffice. Once the truth was revealed, we might not even be able to sustain our current dynamic. It would be counterproductive. In late December, we chose an auspicious day to move. The day before our relocation, Tang Zhou was particularly excited, constantly messaging me about the tasks for the following day. However, by noon, he suddenly went silent. Noticing his prolonged lack of response, I called him. The phone rang for quite some time before he finally answered. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? I have a slight headache. I might not have been sleeping well lately. Don't worry, sister. I'll just take a nap. A sense of foreboding washed over me, and I felt a chill. In that case, rest well, and we can discuss things later. If you don't feel any better, we should visit the clinic. I know. Sister, there's no need to worry. With a heavy heart, I hung up. My intuition warned me that joy could swiftly turn to sorrow. After work, Tang Zhou still had not messaged me. My sense of unease intensified. I returned home anxiously to find Tang Zhou sitting at the dining table with his back to me. The dim, yellow light enveloped him, casting an ethereal, unreal glow about him. He seemed both distant and unattainable. I approached him softly, calling Zhou. Tang Zhou turned to look at me. Sister. His smile remained gentle, but I keenly sensed the difference. The clarity and innocence of the past have faded, replaced by the intricate complexities and profound depths born of worldly experience. Have you regained your memories? Tang Zhou revealed a bittersweet smile. I'm sorry. I managed to force a smile. Congratulations. Tang Zhou smiled distantly and politely. Thank you. The air became thick with tension. After a moment of silence, Tang Zhou spoke again. I still have 210,000 in my phone. I've transferred 200,000 to your card. When you have the opportunity, please pay off a portion of the loan. I may not be able to contact you again. If it becomes necessary, sell the house. The current market value is not much different from before. And don't let go of a furnished house for less than 1.8 million. I took a deep breath and nodded, feigning ease.
All right. I Arburat no habría avanças.
After all, he had invested at least 700,000 in the house. In a way, I was the one who profited. After a brief silence, he inhaled deeply and said, I must leave. I anticipated his departure, yet I was unprepared for his urgency, taken aback for a moment before processing. Returning to the Tang family?
Yes.
Then take care. You too. I felt a surge of tears and turned my face away. As he approached the door, I couldn't help but call out to him. Must you go back? He clearly knew he stood no chance against the male lead. Was the female lead's allure truly that potent? Tang Zhou turned to look at me, nodding solemnly. Yes. I inhaled deeply, smiling as I nodded. Very well. Tang Zhou said nothing further, silently opening the door and stepping outside. Oh no, it actually ended badly. I feel so distressed. No matter how wonderful the female lead is, she belongs to the male lead. How foolish of the antagonist.
Indeed.
If Wenxin is so good, why not choose her? Love cannot be forced. Without the female lead, perhaps Wenxin would be the antagonist's best refuge. But the female lead remains the unattainable ideal. Yes. That which does not belong to us, be it a person or a possession, is destined to elude us. With Tang Zhou's departure, the barrage of comments also vanished. I could no longer glean insights about him from the comments and could only search online for news or gossip about the Tang family. I was uncertain whether Tang Zhou was still in hiding or if the Tang family had effectively shielded themselves, as no whispers of news reached me. The period following Tang Zhou's departure felt disorienting. It took me quite some time to gradually adjust back to solitude. Yet, I could never entirely erase his presence from my mind, especially during dull moments at home. Sometimes, I would even experience auditory hallucinations, hearing his sweet, honeyed voice calling me sister. The only solace was that shortly after his departure, my boss promoted me and raised my salary, now sufficient to cover my mortgage and living expenses. Soon, it was New Year's Eve. With nothing to do, I went to bed early after dinner. Just as I was drifting into a deep sleep, several men in black suddenly burst in. They bound me and took me aboard a private jet, ultimately leading me to a villa and locking me in a room. Although they said nothing, I knew this must be connected to Tang Zhou. Yet, the specific reason eluded me. I waited in the room for approximately 3 hours until a young man who bore a striking resemblance to Tang Zhou appeared. Without a doubt, he was Tang Zhou's half-brother, the male lead. He looked weary as he spoke. Miss Wen, please do not be alarmed. I mean you no harm. Tang Zhou has taken my wife and child, and I had no choice but to bring you here. As long as he releases them, I will not cause you any trouble. The long-awaited comments began to flood in. The male lead is truly shameless. It was you who was flirting with the assistant, and the female lead, in a fit of anger, sought refuge with the antagonist, yet you dare to claim it was the antagonist who kidnapped your wife and child? No wonder sweet stories always conclude at the peak of the protagonist's happiness. Men only behave when they're mounted on the wall. I suddenly understood and spoke as calmly as possible. Mr. Tang, you may be mistaken. I am not significant to Tang Zhou. Otherwise, he would not have left me behind, nor would he have failed to contact me even once. The male lead sighed softly. I know, but I still wish to give it a try. Perhaps my dear brother is merely trying to distance himself to avoid involving you? After all, he even sent someone to protect you in secret, indicating he is not entirely indifferent. Indeed, Tang Rue is not easily deceived. Tang Zhou deliberately distanced himself to protect Wenxin. He arranged for her to be promoted and raised her salary, and even dispatched bodyguards to protect her, proving he cares.
Yet,
this does not signify that I hold any greater importance than Mrs. Tang in his heart. Tang Rue smiled enigmatically. We shall see if that is the case. He paused before adding, Miss Wen, feel free to stay here. If you need anything, do not hesitate to ask. As long as it is reasonable, I can accommodate. After revealing his cards, Tang Rue departed, leaving me with a servant who brought me meals and later provided a change of clothes. Aside from my lack of freedom and inability to contact the outside world, he indeed did not trouble me. Tang Rue did not return to see me again until 2 days later when a maid opened the door, inviting me downstairs. Upon arrival, I found Tang Rue seated on a sofa with a young, beautiful woman. The atmosphere between them was tense, both wearing expressions of displeasure. Lin Wei is truly admirable. She knows she has implicated Wenxin and secretly returns to persuade Tang Rue to let Wenxin go. The male lead is unworthy of the female lead. Can't we allow her to shine independently? Lin Wei rose and approached me. Miss Wen, I sincerely apologize for involving you. I shook my head. It's not Mrs. Tang's fault. Lin Wei forced a smile. Zhou's people are waiting for you outside. Very well. I was but an insignificant ant, unable to be of any assistance. Remaining would only hinder matters. Under the guidance of the servant, I exited the villa. Outside the main gate, a business vehicle awaited, with a driver standing by the door. Upon seeing me, he quickly approached. Miss Wen, President Tang has instructed me to take you back. I wonder which sister holds more importance in the antagonist's heart? Lin Wei has known Tang Zhou longer than Wenxin, and was his first love. It's hard to say. Surely the antagonist would not blame Wenxin for this? No need. I turned and walked away. I reside in City C, the capital, and walking home is not an option. However, Song Rui's men returned my phone and ID, so getting home was manageable. The business vehicle trailed closely behind me. Growing irritated, I stopped at the roadside to hail a taxi. Unfortunately, the location was too remote, and it took some time before a driver accepted my request. I increased the fare to 300 before a driver finally picked up the job. It would take over half an hour to arrive, so I had no choice but to wait by the roadside. The business vehicle remained parked about 10 meters away, clearly indicating it wouldn't leave unless I did. The antagonist is so contradictory. He is clearly in the car yet refuses to show himself. I can't shake the feeling that he is now fond of Wenxin. Perhaps he desires both? That would be repulsive. He shares the same lack of taste as the male lead. Author, who does Tang Zhou truly favor now? I stood up and walked over to tap on the driver's window. The driver took a few seconds before rolling it down. Miss Wen, is there something you need? Could you please stop following me? The driver chuckled foolishly. I apologize, Miss Wen. I'm just following orders. You may treat me as if I'm not here. With such a large vehicle parked here, it was impossible for me to overlook it. There's no need to follow me. Instead of wasting time here, why not think of ways to rescue Mrs. Tang? I directed this remark at Tang Zhou, confident he could comprehend. After speaking, I turned away and continued walking down the road. I called the driver to explain my situation. After walking about 10 meters, the business vehicle suddenly accelerated in front of me, then slammed to a halt, followed by the back door swinging open. Tang Zhou, expressionless, looked at me coldly. Get in. I was momentarily taken aback, a surge of unbridled anger igniting within me. Why should I heed your words? Tang Zhou replied coldly. If Tang Rui finds you again, how can I possibly save anyone? I was momentarily speechless. He was indeed correct. If Tang Rui could leverage me as a threat once, he could do so countless times. My presence would merely serve to hinder progress, unless he disregarded my well-being entirely. Is there truly no other option but to accompany you? What do you think? I was at a loss for words. The restored memory of Tang Zhou was far from endearing. What about my job and mortgage payments? Tang Zhou's expression momentarily froze. Do I truly need to concern myself with your mortgage now? If it were not an issue, why not assist me in settling it? Is your life worth less than $1 million? This time, it was Tang Zhou who fell silent, and after a brief pause, he inexplicably remarked, You never spoke to me this way before. Without a moment's hesitation, I retorted, You also never spoke to me like this. Don't attempt to manipulate me. Tang Zhou suddenly broke into laughter. Is the only way to receive favorable treatment to play the role of a younger brother? What else could it be? Tang Zhou's smile vanished in an instant. I will send you abroad for a while. Once I have resolved matters domestically, you may return. Indeed. The antagonist is more concerned about the female lead. The warmth is delightful. Clearly, I have developed feelings for him as well. The antagonist is truly a fool. I could not help but feel a sting in my nose, but that is acceptable, provided you assist me in clearing the loan. Since we cannot discuss emotions, let us discuss finances. Very well, I will settle the loan and provide you with 5 million in cash. Are you satisfied?
Quite.
Tang Zhou was efficient in his actions. Within 3 days, he had sent me overseas. He arranged for a caretaker and a bodyguard, and my days were filled with indulgence and leisure, making the experience rather bearable. I even befriended a handsome Caucasian neighbor, frequently inviting him to ride bicycles and take walks together. Just as our camaraderie was flourishing, the bodyguard informed me that it was time to return home. Reluctantly, I bid farewell to my Caucasian friend and boarded the flight back. Upon my return to the capital, I did not encounter Tang Zhou. Instead, the bodyguard escorted me to meet Lin Wei. I was filled with trepidation. Had the female lead and Tang Zhou reached a happy conclusion? Would she resent my past with him and confront me? As it turned out, I was overthinking. Lin Wei looked at me apologetically. Miss Wen, I have some unfortunate news to share. My anxiety grew. What is it? Lin Wei paused, then slowly revealed. Ah Zhou has been injured and is in a coma. The doctors say he may never awaken. My mind went blank, and after a long while, I managed to reclaim some semblance of rationality and composure. He has become a vegetable? Lin Wei, with tear-filled eyes, nodded. He was injured in the head while saving Nan Nan, struck by Tang Rui's men, and it took 3 days to stabilize him. Before falling into a coma, he instructed me to bring you back and bequeathed all his assets to you. Also, he requested that I give you this. Lin Wei retrieved a bag from the safe and presented it to me with both hands. I numbly accepted it and opened it to find 6 property deeds and a lavish jewelry box. Inside the box lay an entire set of diamond jewelry. The diamonds were large and brilliant, unmistakably valuable. The antagonist's true love is when Xin. He helped the female lead merely out of gratitude, but alas, it is a tragic ending. He fulfilled all his promises. I felt a surge of tears. Why must there be a tragic ending? I desire a happy conclusion. Everyone, hold on. The antagonist is not beyond saving. Perhaps the author will bestow a miracle upon him. Anticipating a miracle. My tears welled in my eyes, and my hands trembled uncontrollably. May I go see him? Lin Wei nodded through her tears. Of course, he will surely be delighted. Tang Zhou's head was tightly wrapped in bandages, and he was connected to a myriad of tubes. His eyes were slightly closed, utterly motionless, appearing serene, reminiscent of the first time I encountered him. I watched for a while, then leaned down to whisper softly in his ear, Handsome, will you wake up? If you don't, I shall have to kiss you. Tang Zhou remained unresponsive. It seemed no miracle had occurred. However, did this mean I could kiss him? After all, he had not objected this time. With that thought, I gently pressed my lips against the corner of his mouth through the mask. After a lengthy moment, I reluctantly pulled away. At that instant, his eyelashes fluttered ever so slightly. A miracle had indeed transpired. Yet a new dilemma emerged. Upon awakening, Tang Zhou gazed at me blankly, his eyes filled with shyness and confusion. Sister, did you save me?
How old are you?
14. 14 it is, then. After all, a 14-year-old antagonist is rather endearing. The story concludes here. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and liking to support us. Until we meet again in the next tale.